This is an Asahi lunch symposium, and I'm very pleased to be the moderator for this. Asahi is a company that I have really grown to admire over the years. My initial relationship with Asahi was doing lots of coronary CTO work. And it got to the point that we were working together doing these and got up to where I was doing about 7 coronary CTOs every Friday. It grew very quickly, did it not, Carson? But from that, we worked more and more understanding the wires, and peripheral wires were developed as well. And now I spend most of my life doing peripheral work. It's an area of interest. And of course, I still do some coronary work at this point. But Asahi has been a very strong new cardiovascular horizons partner. As you've seen, they're a platinum partner. But I believe they're the most innovative company in the interventional space that create devices to cross what historically we called uncrossable lesions. You know, as we started in peripheral interventions, people failed as much as 50% of the time with total occlusions. I'm going to say that again, failed up to 50% of the time. That's unacceptable, of course. But as we got better and better, you know, now the problem with failure is not usually crossing, because they've made so many great devices that in the hands of appropriately trained people, almost every single lesion in the peripheral space can be crossed. And I can't tell you how big an advantage that has been. And they have, as a company, I think, allowed us to take what historically were called uncrossable lesions and make them lesions that we indeed could tame. That's a laudable achievement, and it happened because of the focus of the company. I had the privilege of going to visit this company in the past and watch the meticulous work that went into making these wires. In 14 thousandths wires, a wire such as Xi'an black, there are actually 15 wires built within that wire. These wires are roughly 5 microns in diameter. You know how small that is? It's the size of a red blood cell, and yet strong. So that makes these wires very torqueable, very manageable to use. And they have now far surpassed that. I understand now there's an 18 thousandths wire with over 60 wires in it. And all of that means we have wires that we can better torque, that we can better deliver devices. And really, I appreciate what you've done here. Now, they also have a big industrial division. As you fly in your airplane, the ailerons and the elevators of your airplane might well have been controlled by the wires that Asahi likewise makes. But it's a very impressive company with very incredible tools. Well, the person who heads this is immediately to my left, and I'm lucky enough to have become a friend and sung karaoke with him in Japan. And he's Masahiko Miyata. He is a legendary leader. He has taken this company and really developed it into an incredible company that can precisely manufacture very difficult things to deal with this. To his left is Dr. Osama Ibrahim, a very close friend. He's a cardiologist with the Vascular Associates in Tullahoma, Tennessee. To his left up here is actually Dr. Jay Matthews, and you've all seen him many times here at New Cardiovascular Horizons. He's a great friend. He's a luminary in this field and has done great work. And then finally, we have a new participant, and I'm anxious to get to speak with him more. And this is Ashwani, who goes by the nickname Ash Sastry, and he's with Sunrise Vascular in Murphy, North Carolina. And he will ultimately be speaking with us. But the first speaker is my friend, someone who I have incredible respect for, and a man who's developed a company that is really a very special company. Mr. Miyata is the chairman of Asahi Intech. They are a remarkable company, and much of the success that you've seen here during this meeting was achieved using those wires. Chairman Miyata.
So, good afternoon. My name is Masahiko Miyata. I'm chairman of the Asahi Tech. First of all, thank you very much for inviting this meeting, Dr. Walker. I really appreciate your how can I say, your supporting. So also, and audience, thank you very much for always supporting to our products. Thank you very much for having a time. So today, I would like to explain our company profile and also our kind of company strategies. So I'm very sorry, I'm poor in English, so but I would like to make effort to this presentation. Okay, so our companies, 1975, my father established our companies. I'm a son of the founder. So 2009, I succeed the president. So during the 16 years, so I had a president. So now I changed the chairman. So now we are in charge of the chairman's work in the Asahi Tech. So for example, the KOL management or something. So on the other hand is that now we have a chairman of the medical device industries organization. So we have the lobby activity to the government or government. So now is the problem issue is NAFTA. So now is oil cannot. It is difficult to get oil space. So now we are pushing. So this is our background. So we'd like to start our presentation. So 2072, so my father established these pictures, kind of a garage. But 2018, this picture is it's a new headquarters facility and the R&D centers. So we are very growing up. And so our companies are listed the Tokyo Stock Exchange market. So 2009, I succeed these companies. So the price, stock price is less than $1. But now, so now is 25 US dollars. So almost 25 times. So yes, it's a very growing up the companies. So, you know, so Asahi started from the CTO coronary guide wire called the Miracle, the first ever coronary CTO guide wires. So this is our flagship guide wires. So we have committed ourselves to support physicians treating patients suffering severe artery diseases. So this is a business field. So latest fiscal year's result is revenue is 800 million US dollars. The operating income is 200 million US dollars. So we had two business field. One is an industrial field. So this is our original business. So on the other hand is a medical field. But the ratio of the sales revenue is totally different. So now original business industry field is only 4%. So 96% is a medical field. We changed the medical companies. So, and in the medical field, we had two divisions. One is medical brand business, is 83%. So brand business means our own branded names. So, and the medical OEM business is 13%. Yeah, this is our business field. So the main sales basis, so in Japan, so we already had a direct sales teams, about 100 sales reps in Japan. So we have many regions, and we have branches. So, and on the other hand is overseas countries. We have 15 bases. The first area is Asia, that we built up the Singapore and Taiwan and India and Korea. Of course, in the China is a very big important companies. We had a main branch in the Beijing and the Shanghai and the Guangzhou. So on the Europe side, so we established headquarters in Europe, in the Netherlands. Now, we had 3 branches, France, Germany, and Italy. So those countries, we started the direct sales. The other regions, we have a distributor channels by each countries. And Europe and Russia, and and now is Middle East Dubai. So latest branch in the Latin America, in the Brazil. So this is very globally sales networks. So and the United States are more important. So direct sales teams in the United States start at 2012. And also the PTA market, direct sales for PTA market in 2015. So now is over 100 sales reps. So we have very strong sales teams. Okay. So on the R&D and the production side, so our strategy is from the raw material to finished product. All Asahi companies control the entire design and product cycles. We don't use outside. So all product in-house, we developing in-house. So R&D basis, the mainly is in Japan. So our headquarters is location in the Seto City. Seto City means middle of Japan. So they are in charge of the design and design of product, the guide wires or catheters or something. On another regions, we had a unique R&D center. So Osaka R&D Center, they are in charge of the metal material technologies. And the Shizuoka R&D Center, they are in charge of the resin coating technologies or tubing technologies. And Tohoku, in the north side, we had R&D Center. They have in charge of the precision machining technologies or molding technologies. And the latest one is Tokyo R&D Center near the Haneda Airport. So they are in charge of the advanced technologies. It means the software or robotics areas. So this is our R&D teams. So we finished R&D or prototypes. Mass production site is outside Japan. So main facility in the 3 countries, Thailand and Vietnam and the Philippines. So those 3 facilities. So because, why? Because we have to decentralize the mass production site. So 2011, we had a big disasters in Thailand. So Thailand flood occurred. So our main facility completely stopped almost 6 months. That's the experience. That's why we have to decentralize facilities. So this is our strategies. So we'd like to explain to our products, right? So industrial fields. So we can make some types of the wire ropes. So for using the automobiles and the copy machines, and it's a very unique product. It's a fishing line. Fishing line is a trout and a sea bass or something. Yeah, and also the golf shoes. So now we are collaboration is a BOA company. BOA is American companies, the dial companies. So about 15 years ago, we collaboration with this project. So maybe do you play the golf? So now golf shoes is changing. So golf shoe wire replaced the traditional shoe laces. So it's on the other hand is OEM business. We had big customers in the big companies. So for example, is Boston Scientific is a very good partners. So this brochure is a Boston Scientific brochures. So you know the FFR guidewires. So we had a good collaboration in the Boston Scientific. So the sensor part is a Boston Scientific in charge. They are in charge, and the wire part is Asahi company is making. So and also the right side is the rotabrator wire. Maybe you know. Rotabrator wire drive is all products made by Asahi. We supply to the OEM basis to the Boston Scientific. So this project is very unique. So put on our logo. So you see the Asahi, Asahi technology. Asahi technology logo, kind of Intel inside. So the Boston Scientific showed our Asahi's technology to the companies. So this is maybe they can get trust from the customers. That's a very unique collaboration. So this is our business portfolio. So mainly a long time ago, we studied the coronary side in the domestic in Japan. So we were expanding the portfolio products. So not only guide wires, but also the micro catheters, guiding catheters, penetration catheters, and balloon catheters. So on the other hand, simultaneously, we were expanding the geography side. Now is about over 120 countries. And also simultaneously, we would like expanding the remedy areas, not only coronary field, the peripheral, abdominal, and the neurovascular areas, interventional areas. So now we studied another business. We studied the GI field. So we supply to the special guide wires or catheters for the ERCP procedures. So we already launching the United States market. And now is next stage, we have studied the surgical robotics areas. So you know the Da Vinci is a very famous robot, but this robot is we call the Answer. Answer is a totally different concept of the Da Vinci. So this robot is instead of the assistant. So it's a very unique technologies. Just now we're launching in the Japanese market. In the future, we export to the United States market. So this is our guidewire market share about the coronary side. So globally, we got 53% market share. Each countries, we got the number of market share, I think. In Japan, 82%. The China is 66%. And Europe is 55%. And the United States now is 35% market share. But every year it's growing up these numbers. So we aim to the 50% market share. So Dr. Walker, please support to our companies. Okay. So why could we got the high market shares? So because of our technologies. So we cultivated the technologies from the industrial field. So we call the 4 core technologies. So one is wire drawing technologies. So we can make some diameters of wires. It's a very thin wires. So the minimum size is 10 micron. So we can make each diameters. So and on the other hand, the wire forming technologies. So forming is woven wires, and we making some types of the wire ropes. So this is a very important technology. And resin coating technology. So we had some tubing technologies. We put on we making some resin coating. So for example, the urethane or nylon tubing. So, and also the guide wire need PTFE coating is very important. So we put on the PTFE coating in-house. And also, the guide wire is the most important coating is lubricity coating, quite important. So this process is all of them in-house. So we had. And finally, is the torque technologies. That's a very important technologies. So maybe you feel that our guide wires, torqueability is quite better. So that means our guide wires material is the same, and also diameter is the same, but the process is totally different in another companies. That's why our guide wire is more torqueability. So this is the image. So we apply to those core technology to our product. So the conventional wire it is difficult to control but Asahi guidewire is kind of a one-to-one torque. So this is our total technologies. So we'd like to explain the PV portfolio evolution. So 2010 is a challenge. Enter the PV market, the Regalia and the Treasure. 2015, the evolution, the Act 1 guide wires, the Gradius or Harvard. 2020, the breakthrough, the Gradius Mongol and the Crosswalk. And 2015, the innovation, the CROSSLEAD series. Today's later, the three speakers have a presentation about these guide wires. So the CROSSLEAD is one series built for the every change. So CROSSLEAD Pro 3-5 inches, 18 inches, and 14 inches. Those wire is a workhorse wire. And the specialty wire is a CROSSLEAD penetration and the CROSSLEAD tracker. Okay, this is the final page. So the guidewire technology evolution ever ends. And also our companies continue to developing every year, or we are challenging to the innovations. So next year, now we are under developing the new guide wires. Next year, at the NCVH, we'd like to have a presentation, these guide wires. Please looking for these materials. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman Miyata. You've made a big difference for what we can all do. I think our next speaker is going to be Dr. Osama Ibrahim.
All right, well, this was a great segue to what we're going to talk about, and it's great to see a company with the magnitude of Asahi now dedicating, they've got a tremendous reputation in the coronary space, now dedicating certain wire lines to the peripheral space, which again, whoever's going to make my life easier in crossing a lesion, I will be forever in debt for him. All right, so really, if you can't get there, then you can't do anything. And that's what we sometimes overestimate, is we always focus on the lesion and crossing the lesion. Sometimes we underestimate how we're going to get there. And this is where I believe this CROSSLEAD Pro 035, with the characteristics that Chairman Miyata just discussed, which is the torqueability, the trackability, the fact that you can deliver equipment over is extremely important. So the Act 1, as we said, it's the torque force, it's the narrow loop crossing, it's the smooth maneuverability. There's no shame in saying this, but I was 100% Terumo Advantage 035 wire user, just because it's an exceptional wire at that time, until this young man, Sergio Valli, who is currently with Asahi, who used to work with me in the past. He's like, hey, can you try this? I'm like, Sergio, stop wasting my time. He's like, just try it. And I hate to say, but in our lab, it's called the surge wire. I'm sure Asahi is very proud to hear that. But no, seriously, that is what a trusted partner is like, hey, I know your style of how you do things. Just give this a try and see. Chairman Miyata went over most of this, but it's a very versatile wire in getting to where you need to go. When it comes to contralateral access, for example, navigating unfavorable anatomy, going through stents, and just that cross loop that you can cross and maintain a safety profile that you're not going to perforate. Those are things that to us as proceduralists is very important. Now, based on your familiarity with this wire, and of course there's a learning curve similar to any other device that we use, straight crossing, narrow loop crossing, subintimal crossing, or instant crossing. And hopefully some of these images that we'll go over will show this. But this is not my slide. This is a CTO, an osteal left common iliac CTO. This is exactly what this wire will do. It will engage, and then with just a little bit of pushability, you can see it flying through that lesion. So this whole CTO crossing took less than 45 seconds. That's pretty much the difference between this patient having a successful endovascular procedure versus much more complex surgical revascularization. Obviously, the narrow loop crossing, which is extremely important. On the top, we can see the CROSSLEAD Pro versus its competitor at the bottom, and this competitor is the Terumo Advantage. And that tight cross loop is extremely important to what we use. Just for the sake of time, we're going to just go through this a little bit faster. So in-stent crossing, as we can see, once you get through the stent, you have that nice knuckle. You can advance easily without being concerned about going out of the stent struts. But more importantly, when you're dealing with a native vessel, you don't want to keep on going with the side branches, especially with an 035 vessel. 035 wire profile. These are just a few examples. This is coming from below in a retrograde access, crossing a subtotal calcified SFA. Takes a few seconds. This is coming in an antegrade access, crossing a CTO from an up and over. And we see it very easily. You're in control. You're in control of the wire does not control you. There are some wires where you're like, I don't know where this goes. This wire, you're in complete control. You can advance it, you can loop it, you can torque it. But more importantly, even when you cross, you can exchange it, right? Because sometimes you can get that 035 wire down, but you can't cross anything over it to exchange to an 014 or an 035 system. This is a subtotal left common iliac artery calcified lesion. As we can see, it negotiates it from a radial access. This procedure took less than 20 minutes based on the fact that we're able to get this safely through the lesion, and then you exchange over whatever wire you want, and then you can work from there. This is obviously going through a multi-level occlusions coming from the radial approach, and as we can see, external iliac, common femoral, SFA, and even in the popliteal from a radial approach, and this is not even with a support catheter. Left SFA crossing via radial access again, very simple to go. Most of these, sitting next to Sergio is my main scrub person, Peyton Meeker, who did most of these cases with me. This is navigating a radial loop, which is sometimes we see can be a big problem. Instead of changing your access point, if you're using the right wire, you can get through it in a very short period of time. We do obviously a lot of radial to peripheral. This wire, even in a hostile type 3 arch, you can navigate through it very easily and with massive control. As we do more and more venous procedures, we are utilizing this wire and more from the up and over techniques, getting into either for DVT cases or even just doing iliac compression cases. Same thing, the wire navigates very easily through these stubborn anatomy. When we're dealing with acute on chronic DVT crossing, this wire tracks very easily into the IVC, which we can exchange with a crosswalk, an 035 crosswalk, which I think the next series will show it, is that you can take then your stiff Amplatz wire and do whatever you need to do. This is an acute on chronic case, just recently, an 84-year-old. This is what we started off with. This is actually Peyton was doing this case, and as we can see, the wire flying up in the superficial femoral and common femoral vein, and even when it comes into the pelvic vein segment, still tracked very nicely. And then this here is the crosswalk, tracking over that same wire, going into the IVC. Once you get into the IVC and you get that Amplatz up, you can do a lot of different things, and this is the end result. So in summary, this wire is extremely versatile, extremely helpful to get where you need to go, and has pretty much changed my treatment algorithm when it comes to not only getting to where we need, but also crossing and treating. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Osama. Great thing. I think our next speaker is going to be Ash Sastry. Is that right? Can we put up the next set of slides? Here we go. Good, Ash. Here we are.
Thank you so much, Chairman Miata, for the opportunity to be here today, and Asahi. Thank you, Dr. Walker, for putting together this lovely conference every year. And I would like to talk a little bit about crossing previously uncrossable lesions. And this CROSSLEAD line of wires from Asahi really is what's making that possible, and it has totally changed the game in terms of what's possible now. Yeah. Oh, great. Okay, got it. Very good. So I just thought I'd jump into a case to kind of illustrate what is possible with this new line of wires. So we have a 91-year-old female, Rutherford 6 CLI, prior failed bypass graft, extreme calcification on ultrasound, hostile femoral vessels. There's flow in the common femoral artery and in the proximal SFA, but kind of beyond that, things get lousy. Here's the occluded bypass graft that is not an acute occlusion, but happened sometime in the last year. And then dampened flow occlusion with extreme calcification of the mid-distal SFA, and then some reconstituted flow distally, but very dampened. And then it's more of the same with the tibials, so the anterior tibial artery is completely occluded. The posterior tibial and the common plantar, all of the plantar vasculature is completely occluded and obliterated with calcium. And then the only flow we have to the foot is this faintly reconstituted dorsalis pedis with really minimal flow in it. And this is what's keeping her foot alive. So no surprise that this patient is having severe difficulty. And then more calcification. I try and follow the pedal vessels all the way up to kind of do procedural planning. And in this case, the ostial AT is completely obliterated with calcification. So this is going to be a really hard case, especially when that ostial AT is occluded and you have to re-enter the popliteal directly. That's about as challenging in anatomy as you typically come across. So how to do this case? You need a lot of push to get this done. You need to have inline push. So you could go antegrade or you could go pedal, but up and over is probably not going to work too well. And then for the antegrade approach in a 91-year-old small female with significant calcification, there's substantial bleeding risk. So in my practice, I like to go typically to a primary occluded vessel access approach when possible. And that's kind of what I did in this case. So occluded vessel access of the distal anterior tibial artery just above the ankle. In the old days, I used to use the Mongo 014 and 018 ES to do this sort of occluded vessel access, but with the new CROSSLEAD line, I've kind of transitioned to using the 014 or 018 CROSSLEAD Pro. This is a very, very durable wire. The nitinol, the tip is a nitinol core with the Act 1 technology, polymer jacket, and hydrophilic coating, and then the shaft of the wire is stainless steel and extremely supportive. So this thing, you can kind of curl into a ball or a spindle, go subintimal, and then take it out, reshape it, and use it to complete the case. So if there is any wire that you can get a kind of one wire case done, even in a complex patient like this is it. And really does not deform or become unusable even when you ball it up. It's also got an extremely supportive distal shaft, which has been a game changer in my practice. So I like to go retrograde a lot, and in small vessel tibials, I don't like to put sheaths in. So I will often use an 014 CROSSLEAD Pro, access the tibial, wire across an occlusion, and then just bear back an 014 balloon. And prior to this wire line, there was no 014 wire that was supportive enough to actually get a balloon without a sheath into the vessel, and now that's possible. So it makes it possible to do retrograde access in 1 millimeter vessels and still get a good result and not occlude the access point. So getting back to this patient, this was an 018 CROSSLEAD Pro looped into the hibernating lumen of the anterior tibial artery, kind of progressed forward as far as the loop will stay tight. But somewhere along the course of this vessel, we hit severe resistance. And this is the problem with these occluded and extremely calcified vessels, that the path of least resistance is often out of the vessel rather than through, because the calcification is so extreme that the wire will go anywhere but through. So if you want to cross luminally and get there, you need to kind of find some way through the calcium and find a way to follow the path of most resistance rather than the path of least resistance. So in this case, I got to the ostial AT, got some blood back, see some branches, so we're in sort of the right place, but then we have more calcification on top of it. So my typical algorithm used to be, and still sometimes is, to go to an Astato 40 first. So in this case, tried to use an Astato 40. The blessing is both a curse. The calcium is both a blessing and a curse in this case. The curse is that it's very, very hard to cross, very tough occlusion, but on the plus side, we have a roadmap of where we need to go because the vasculature is so calcified you can see the whole thing. So following in orthogonal views and kind of gently manipulating, trying to get across, the Estado 40 I could not get to go to the right spot in the popliteal. So what do you do next? One option is to kind of loop subintimal, and if that goes, we get lucky, great. If not, then the case is sort of over. So in a year or two ago, there was no further escalation to be done, but now we have a 60-gram penetration wire from Asahi that's been a total game changer. So this is a tapered, uncoated wire with 60 grams of penetration force at the distal tip, 014 and 018 options designed for this sort of occlusion. And the effective penetration force is about 3 times that of an Estado 40. So with the 60-gram wire, I was able to cross with an acute bend across this osteal AT into the pop, checking in multiple views. Here's an example of being able to see this on ultrasound. In this particular case, the wire was actually across the occlusion and then through because it was going in a straight line, but was able to pull back and then redirect and get the case done. So back to this particular case, through the osteal AT occlusion to the pop, get a little bit further, and then more occlusion. So get a crosswalk angled up there to get a picture, and we have more of the same. And then back to the 60-gram wire, and again with a nice calcium roadmap of where we need to go, able to kind of manipulate and get through. This 60-gram wire, as I said, is uncoated and tapered down. It is really designed to engage the CTO cap and not divert subintimally to kind of go through that point of most resistance, which is what you need to do to cross these lesions luminally. So in this case, got the 60-gram wire through, was able to get through. This is an example of doing this on extravascular ultrasound guidance. Let's see, my video didn't play there. But in any case, often can be done on extravascular ultrasound guidance. The wire shows up beautifully on EVIS, and that can be a nice way to cross when you don't have a calcium roadmap like this to tell you exactly where you're going. So in this patient, looks like we're frozen. Well, in any case, in summary, we were able to get through in this case, drug-coated balloon angioplasty with atherectomy, got a beautiful result, inline flow all the way down, and essentially made possible with this kind of new wire line. So this has really been a game changer and really redefines what's crossable and what's not crossable. Thank you so much.
Ash, that was a remarkable result on what historically was called an uncrossable lesion. Beautiful. And there are a lot of patients like this. We can no longer just give up on patients and say amputation's the easiest thing. Unfortunately, that still goes on. Our next speaker is Dr. Jay Matthews. You've heard him many times. We don't have to really introduce him. He's really done a lot in this field and has helped advance this entire field of peripheral intervention. Great friend, but a great doctor as well. Jay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman Miata, for having me here today, and also Dr. Walker as well, too, for, again, another excellent conference. And I look forward to seeing you guys next year as well. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about crosswalk and also CROSSLEAD Pro 01814. Just kind of a brief overview. Obviously, we have a lot of choices when it comes to microcatheters as well, too. But a lot of them are very basic in design. And one thing Asahi has done is really put a lot of engineering into the design of their products. And one of the failures of a lot of these hypotubes is that they kink, they don't torque, they don't give you wire control. And by placing a braid within the crosswalk catheter, it really allows for both torque control and pushability with a very hydrophilic catheter as well too that tracks very well too, and I'll hopefully be able to show that to you as well. And there's also these radiopic markers that you guys can track as well too, which is highly visible under X-ray as well. Nice thing too is also comes in a variety of angles as well too. For you, some folks prefer a greater angle than others, but there's a number of varieties here as well too. And the telescoping technique is quite useful as well, where you can use larger catheters and smaller catheters to potentially reach further down. This is really useful, especially if you're coming for a radial peripheral approach. Also, the other thing to know is that the 014 and 018 varieties are compatible with the 2.9 French Cook pedal sheath. So if you want to really stay small, this is a really nice option as well too, without placing a full-size sheath in a patient, especially with small tibial vessels. So this is a size matrix, so recognize that there's a 170 centimeter long catheter now for that radial peripheral option as well. And so this is what it looks like too with that so-called telescoping technique and the different catheter combinations. So this is an example here too, very straightforward case, high-grade AT occlusion and CTO. And you can see here I'm actually taking the CROSSLEAD 018 wire down very easily through this occlusion. And this is actually taking the crosswalk all the way down too. So you can see that. I like to do this. This is probably off-label, but many times I'll take these catheters. I'll know if they're actually good or not if I can take them without a wire. And this thing tracks beautifully too. It's actually one of my CTO crossing techniques. Afterwards, place a balloon, ended up with a very nice result, and you can see excellent runoff to the foot afterwards. So let's talk a little bit about CROSSLEAD Pro 018 and 014 as well too. You heard Dr. Sastry talk about this very briefly as well too. But the design here of the CROSSLEAD wires is really one to create some uniformity to the Asahi portfolio. Asahi has been known to make a great number of amazing wires, but it was actually very complicated because you had a lot of wires, and if you talk to every operator, they all had their preferred wires that they use. But sometimes the reason why that occurred is because either out of habit or maybe they saw somebody use a particular wire. And the idea was to bring some uniformity to the approach of peripheral intervention. And so the idea is that you can coalesce this entire large portfolio of wires down to some 4 basic wire types that we could use for a consistent intervention. So CROSSLEAD Pro 018 and 014 both have a significant tip durability, so you're not going to bung up the tip of the wire as you might see in some of the other competitor products out there as well. So you have the shapeable tip, it comes with a shaping tool, you have really good torque, force, and control. The back end is highly supportive, so some folks like to use other competitor wires because you can deliver your equipment, but this wire is designed to really deliver heavy-duty equipment, large bore equipment as well too, with excellent support and also pushability as well too. So you have that, we saw that graph with the back end support as well. And so this is that hybrid core, it's both nitinol and also stainless steel core. It uses that Act 1 technology, which allows for that one-to-one torque transfer. This is seen across the line, and also with a very nice hydrophilic coating on there as well too for excellent crossing purposes. We saw this before as well too, the differences in their tips as well too. So Gladius Mongo 18 was my preferred 018 wire. I also used some Command 18, and I've pretty much completely switched over to CROSSLEAD Pro 18 at this point too, because I really think it is a superior wire. You can see the difference also too in the tip, because you can reuse this wire multiple times for multiple access points without worrying about that as well too. And that's that durability you can see too as well, compared to something like the Command 18, which was one of my other competitive wires that I used before. 014, similar technology as well too. Same type of design, again, with that Act 1 technology as well too. And you can see here, I use a lot of Mongo ES, but also Gladius as well too. And you can see what happens with the tip of the Gladius in comparison to the CROSSLEAD Pro. So this is really important because you end up spending a lot of money on extra wires. Using this platform allows you to save on costs and also have more predictability in terms of how your wire is going to perform. Command 14 is also something I use quite a bit of as well too, but again, you see that deformation of the tip as well too. You don't see that as much with CROSSLEAD Pro. And also the knuckling is really important as well too. That narrow loop really prevents those large dissections and more consistent crossing through CTOs. You can see the difference between regular Mongo versus the regular Gladius 014. CROSSLEAD Pro gives you that really predictable narrow loop, which is really useful. And this is an example here too, the difference between CROSSLEAD Pro 14 versus say Command 14. Again, something that I use quite a bit of, but you can see right away the CROSSLEAD will form that predictable small knuckle, narrow knuckle, in comparison to say Command, where it might grab a piece of plaque, and then next thing you know, you have this massive loop, and then you're outside the vessel and you've created a huge dissection plane. So I'm going to show you a case here too. This is a multimodality wire crossing case. I'm in the hospital, so I use a lot of equipment, but you know, that may be good for industry, but it's not necessarily good for the hospital and also the cost of the case. So this is a 56-year-old woman, diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, former smoker, She presented with a hallux wound as well too, Rutherford 5. So she's got gangrene of the tip of the toe along with associated osteomyelitis. And this is the initial picture that you see here too. Really, we don't have much going on here. So you see total occlusion of the AT and essentially the whole, all of the tibial vessels. There's really nothing going down to the foot. And on ultrasound, really couldn't find anything that was obvious. Everything was occluded. So I first tried coming from above as well too, and I'm using, again, the CROSSLEAD 018 initially, and you can see I'm kind of poking here with my microcatheter, and I'm taking that predictable narrow loop that you see going all the way down. I take my microcatheter down to the foot, again, probing as well too. I just wasn't really happy where I was going here as well too. So I went ahead and then under ultrasound accessed the occluded posterior tibial, really kind of just right at the common plantar level. And this you can see here too. Again, I like to do this a lot with the 018 CROSSLEAD because I can take either a dilator or take, again, that 2.9 French sheath and use it to deliver microcatheters. In this particular case, I did use a 4-5 slender over the 018 CROSSLEAD to then deliver my balloon. So you can see here I'm going up with that loop, and then here, this is penetration. So I switched out from 018 CROSSLEAD because I couldn't get through with the loop, and I used penetration to get back into the true lumen, into the popliteal artery. Here I'm ballooning afterwards too. You can see I have a microcatheter from above and my balloon from below. This is a long 018 balloon. And then now I'm switching to 4 CROSSLEAD from above, going through the new lumen that I created through the TP trunk into the posterior tibial artery. And then you can see my axis around the foot there. I put my finger on there too, radiating my hands. And afterwards too, you can see we've got that predictable loop now going through the plantar pedal loop very easily through that channel that kind of had created before from above through the AT. Here, we're ballooning now as well too. This is the beauty. The 014 CROSSLEAD provides excellent support. So I'm able to take now from above a 018 balloon actually. This is I used an R2P 018 balloon to go ahead and balloon the plantar pedal loop. And then you can see this here too on this next picture. So here's that the R2P balloon getting pushed all the way down. And then you can see I've got my CROSSLEAD wire all the way through the loop, all the way back up into the AT. And so you can see I'm actually tracking that balloon all the way up there as well too. So ended up with a really nice results here as well too. So from above you can see my AT and PT as well. And you can see the proof is in the putting down of the foot. You can see a nice wound blush down the toe when we had nothing before. So this patient really had a so-called desert foot. And then now she's actually, when they went to do her amputation, they had blood squirting out. So in summary, so crosswalk facilitates wire lesion crossing. You have that, especially the telescoping technique, even with RTP options, compatible again with 2.9 French for the 018 and 014 varieties. It's braided for that support and control. CROSSLEAD Pro, we have 035, 018, and 014 options now too. It really simplifies your wire choices. We don't have to choose 20 different wires. We've got this one class of wires which will handle 90% of the work that you need to do in terms of providing support, crossing, reusability as well too. And then when you got really tough lesions you need to cross, we've got penetration, which is that 60 gram tip load for doing cap crossing, cap penetration, and also dense lesion crossing. And then tracker wire, which we really didn't talk enough about as well too, which is really an excellent wire for when you want to get through tortuosity, through small vessels, if you want to go through arcuate branches, essentially reconstruct the pedal arches. This is a perfect wire. So we would go through 20 fielder wires, or you can have one tracker wire, and then use that wire again too. And actually it provides fairly excellent support as well too, even for your balloons as well. It's predictable, it's reusable, it's gonna save on cost. And again, the idea with these 4 wires, essentially we can now, really 5 wires, is that we can simplify your overall cases. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay. And obviously, lovely case. And this shows you what kind of work can be done. And this is not magic. This is just training and making sure we can routinely get through this. Any questions from the audience? Any comments from the panel at this point that you'd like to make before we close out this lunch session?
I want to thank Asahi's engineers. Other than the vision and the strategy, but the engineers who, I'm only as good as what I was put in my hand, and really seeing these dedicated line of wires and support catheters that will allow us to do what we do is very important. So for that, I would like to thank all the Asahi engineers that have made this a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great thing. Yeah, I think definitely deserve a round of applause for these guys.
Yeah. Asahi has worked with people. When we go there with ideas, they give us products. And that's very important. And they really do listen to physicians. They don't say, let's, you know, they already had, you know, what was the best wire below the knee. And then they made one better. Okay, and it's incredible that they keep working with this, and their dedication to perfection is remarkable, and really have been a great company to work with. Thank you very much, and thank you for this lunch symposium, and thank you for your support of NCVH.